topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hello, Juan. Hey, we are here. I guess we lost our connection with our expert today, but welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Juan, if you can just let me know if we are, yeah, there we go. Okay.
Great.
We okay now, Juan? Okay.
You hearing me okay?
Well, we can hear you fine.
Great.
Just wanted to make sure Juan our producer can hear us okay. See, this is what happens when you do a live show. And we are live. And I got to tell you, today's show, we have all types of experts. And when I found out that we were getting probably one of the finest law firms in Houston with attorney Dennis Cowan, I was so excited. They deal in debt relief, bankruptcy, IRS. And I said, what would you like to talk about today? And when they said, we want to talk about solar panels, I went, I was not expecting that, but that'll be fine. But let me introduce you to attorney Dennis Cowan. Good afternoon, attorney.
Hi, Steve-O. Finest Cowan here.
I can't wait for today's show talking about solar panels because we get inundated by companies trying to get us to do solar panels. But first of all, tell us about your law firm.
Yes, I've been practicing law here in Houston and statewide for 37 years. Do a lot of IRS controversy work and helping people work out of debt problems. One of the biggest, most common problems we've been getting from folks has to do with these solar panels, and I want to issue some warnings to people. Let me just tell you a story of something that came in the office recently. This is an elderly couple, live on Social Security and very small pensions, but they own their home, it's paid off, they've worked their whole lives, they're relaxing in front of their home, and they were approached by two door-to-door salesmen who were very persuasive. They said, would you like to sign up for this program to lower your utility bills? We'll cut them down by about a third. Are you interested? Yes, sir. We're very interested. Sign up right here. Just touch the tablet right here. They didn't show him the contract showing that he had just signed up to agree to solar panels for $77,000. By the time they got the contract, they were just so shocked. They were really stunned into inaction. Now, the law says you can revoke a door-to-door contract within 3 days, but a lot of folks, they're older, their minds aren't working so well, and they didn't know what to do. And they didn't revoke it in time. Unfortunately, there's case law in Texas that says if you sign a contract without reading it, That's your fault. Don't come complaining to the courts. We're going to hold you to what a reasonable man would have done is read the contract. This poor guy, he'd never touched a computer,
Right.
tablet in his life. He didn't know what he was doing. There was no agreement. Now, if I could have taken that case with those same facts and this same witness in front of 100 juries, I probably would have won 99 out of 100 times. Unfortunately, these contracts have arbitration provisions. And who are the arbitrators? They are guys who are often heavily dependent on lawyers who work for the construction industry to pick them over and over and over again. And that's what happened here. This solar panel, who used these crooked salesmen, hires one of the most prominent trial law firms in the city. They schedule these arbitrations full time, one at a time. And no, they can't take these people's house away, but they're elderly. That judgment lien is going to prevent them from ever selling their house, borrowing against it, or leaving it to their family. So a very serious problem that they were faced with. And it's just sad. So the number one thing I want to tell people is do not sign anything on a tablet, a phone, anything like that, because you're not going to get a chance to read it and you're being hoodwinked and you will be hooked for a very big dollar. That's just where the problems start. There's a lot of other problems that we get having to do with solar panels. They're often not economical. There's a website you can use that I don't have in front of me right now, but you can compare prices. And for a smaller home, maybe $25,000. These folks signed up for a contract for, I just lost it, $77,000.
Amazing.
And their electricity bill was like $300. So if it saved them $100 a month, how many decades would they have to use these panels beyond their death before that investment would pay off? It would be long after we're all gone and that house has crumbled into dust. They'd never get it paid off with that savings. So at the inflated numbers that they use, they're often extremely uneconomical. And the rising interest rates, we've seen interest rates on some of these contracts up to 12 to 18%. Now, some of the threats, they can put a mechanic's lien on your home if they get a signature by both spouses, and if the contract says it does. They don't always do that, but that's a huge threat, even if they don't. Once they get a judgment through the arbitration provision, which is very expensive compared to the courts, it costs over $800 just to file an answer. Then you got to pay your lawyer probably $4,000 to $5,000 to come with you to the arbitration and put on your trial.
Dennis, I got
some very, very sad stories with these.
I got to tell you, I am surprised ARP does not try to do something. Here I'm in South Florida. It's the mecca of older demographics. And it seems like all these salespeople come to Florida first because they know it's an older demographic and there's things that you can get by them that you might not be able to get by with maybe a younger demographics. Now, I'm surprised that ARP doesn't do something that protects senior citizens more with these crooks out there. It's just such a sad story.
Maybe they are, but I would expect they'd be doing their membership a huge service by putting up some public service announcement ads and some of the shows that attract that demographic, because it is just tragic what's going on.
So they signed up for $77,000 worth of solar panels.
They were so shocked. They were just, this almost devastated them. Some folks, it's just cheaper to go take bankruptcy than to fight this and take the risk of losing with an arbitrator who gets half his paychecks from the construction lawyers. Some of the other things to watch out for is a very high upfront cost. Now, that's common. In our case, there was no upfront cost. It was all upfront cost, $77,000. Pay it, where's our money? The other thing they do that's very uneconomical is you get a credit from the local electric company if you generate enough solar energy for them to take it off your system, but they're buying it at wholesale prices, say 50%, 50 cents a kilowatt. What do they, just for example, I'm not using real numbers, but what do they charge you? $1. So it's not a dollar for dollar credit on your savings with the power that you generate. The contractors that they use, some of them have been awful. These are the lowest bidders, and they're not the type of contractors that have to go out and sell their business based on their own reputation. So a lot of them have done permanent damage to roofs, have caused leaks that caused a lot of consequential damages. You know, these panels don't last forever. Like any man-made electronic device, they tend to break down and need repairs, and your contract doesn't cover that. When they wear out, they're going to have to be removed at great cost. And a lot of the people I've talked to that have bought these have just really regretted it. They hate the way it makes their home look, and they'd like nothing more than to have them just removed and hauled off. But who's going to pay?
So there's nothing you can do for them.
Well, no, there are. We help people get out of debt. The Deceptive Trade Practices Act can be used, either whether it's in a courtroom or in arbitration, but it's going to cost them. And that's what people don't know they're getting into, that it's going to cost them far more than they expect when they talk to that salesman.
So they could put a lien on their home.
Yes.
But now it's their homestead, though. Can they still file bankruptcy?
Yes. Well, some people can. The bankruptcy laws were reformed by Joe Biden about 17 years ago. Did major benefits to the Delaware banks where he's from, but they disqualified most people who own a good living from a bankruptcy discharge. Instead of Chapter 7, where you get discharged and get a fresh start, those get shunted off to a repayment plan under Chapter 13. So basically, if a couple earns more than $65,000 a year, including Social Security, they're not going to qualify for a bankruptcy discharge. But probably more of our work is in fighting these Deceptive Trade Practices Act in courts or arbitrations.
Are you seeing that you're getting a lot more cases like this?
We're getting a lot of calls, but unfortunately, the salesmen tend to prey on the side of town where people are not as sophisticated, can't afford lawyers, have never hired lawyers in their lives, and it's just very uncomfortable. And you know, not all these cases can be done economically on a contingent fee basis. We consider that, and we do it when we can, but there's usually not a big pile of money at the end of these to split up with a lawyer.
Have you found that the people who've done this, are they really saving money the way they're told?
Well, obviously not the ones that call us. We don't get satisfied customers. And if there are folks out there who are buying solar panels at a competitive price, say under $30,000 for a small home, I can see, and they were going to own it for a long enough time to recoup that, then I can see that being perhaps a economical deal. And I see them in a lot of new neighborhoods. I see them in a lot of homes all over the state. But for old folks to buy them, it just almost never makes sense. It's not going to increase the value of your home that much.
We just got a text from a viewer wanting, can you explain about the 3 days, the laws about having 3 days?
Right. Had this older gentleman who'd signed that iPad acted quickly within 72 hours of signing that contract. He could have notified the seller, I revoke this contract under the Texas statute. Unfortunately, I never see anybody that fast, and it's always after that. But that is a remedy. It's in there, and it's in there for a reason, because not all door-to-door salesmen are like that. 50 years or 60, 70 years ago, my dad was selling encyclopedias, on the east side of town to get through college. And that's where the best market for encyclopedias was. People had a steady income and they wanted to have better lives for their kids, and people would open the door and talk to him. But I think the world's changed some.
It's amazing. Now, what if, first of all, how should people, if they want to take advantage of this 3 days, what if you can't get them on the phone? Does an email suffice that?
Well, you've got to prove that you did get notice to them. An email would probably suffice, but ideally you'd send it in some trackable form. Fax showing delivered, certified mail, FedEx, something like that, showing that someone actually received it. That would eliminate dispute. Otherwise, you're going to get a swearing match about whether or not they received the notice, whether it was sent timely or not. But we deal with that all the time.
So if it's on the third day, you're going to have it hand delivered by a company.
Or faxed, or hand delivery, faxed, something like that. You're right.
That is
Very
just so
time-sensitive.
scary. Is that like that? Now, what about, is that the same thing as with cars too, when you buy a car?
No, that only applies to door-to-door salesmen. And people call me about all the time. I bought a car. I don't like it. A buyer's remorse within a few hours. They promised me all this stuff, but it's not in the contract. No, unless they're sold you that car door to door, the 3 days doesn't apply.
Wow.
And I get asked that pretty frequently, though.
Because of today's topic.
Well, I have a few minutes left, and that's all the promises that are always made about all the tax credit savings you're going to get. Now, most of the folks who are on Social Security, they don't make enough to have to file a tax return. So they're going to get zero benefit from that so-called tax credit. It's not the kind of credit like a child tax credit or a earned income credit where they're going to give you a refund whether you owe tax or not. That's called a refundable tax credit. This is not that. The only credit you're going to get is if you owe a big tax bill, this will help reduce it. So for a lot of folks in the lower economic earning spectrum, there is no tax benefit at all to getting solar panels.
Have you seen one of their contracts yet?
I
know it's all different
I've studied
companies.
I've studied them, and they're carefully drafted by their lawyers in their favor. And it's they're always having arbitration. They don't want to go to a jury. They don't want to go to a court. They don't want their witnesses scrutinized by 12 consumers. So
Just got another text here. Does it work the same way with these vacation properties?
well, I'd have to review that, but we get a lot of calls for timeshares. Got one a little while ago, and it's the same way. They're usually in another state, applying that law, applying those courts, and they can be very difficult to get out of. And for goodness sake, don't put your kids' names on those contracts and have them sign it. They don't know what an 18-year-old is signing. You're just planting a time bomb for them 30, 40 years down the road. And the maintenance charges are outrageous on that. So, yeah.
Well, I see why.
A special corner of hell for people taking advantage of the unwary and inexperienced. I would classify them.
See why you wanted to talk about solar panels today. So I got to end the show. This is probably my most important question. Why should someone retain your services?
Well, I've been doing this 37 years, and my goal is to make my services available to anybody, and I'll try to structure my fees as best I can to accommodate most consumers. I can't work for free. It's just there's an infinite demand for that. But I've been doing this long enough, and my staff is experienced enough that we can do this as efficiently as can be done and cost effectively. And if you prevail in these breach of contract and DTPA cases, we can recover attorney's fees.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, I know, listen, we are so lucky to have your firm as our expert, and we talk about tax relief, we talk about debt management, and like today we're talking solar panels. And you're with us twice each month. Let's give everybody your phone number and your website address.
Sure. I see it down at the bottom on my screen, 832-341-4599.
Now, see, now this is for our radio people because they can't see it. So it's 832-341-4599.
Yep.
We just got a text. Great show today. Listen, I'm glad we left it up to Finis to decide what he'd like to talk about today. Let me give you the phone number one more time. It's
832-341-4599. Let me give you my website too, because
yes,
it's a lot of valuable information. It's Texas Debt, that's DEBT Defense.com. TexasDebtDefense.com.
Listen, Finis, thank you so much. It was a great topic. I see this is something I love that our expert warns our viewers about. It's not a commercial. We're actually educating people out there. Again, the phone number is 832-341-4599, and Finis will be back with us again next month with two more great shows. Thank you so much, Finis.
Thank you, Steve, for this opportunity to help your viewers. Thank you.
And we will see you again next week with more Ask the Experts. We've got some really great experts coming on next week with us. And we're actually going to be adding another hour to the show. If you'd like to find out more information, our phone number here is 954-336-3767. Everybody have a blessed weekend. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.